Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Buenos días, buenas tardes, buenas noches, bonjour. Welcome, bienvenida, bienvenido, y bienvenue to the NGO CSW New York Forum, open forum for the 67th Commission on the Status of Women and the NGO CSW67 Forum. Today's open forum is the second open forum that we, the NGO CSW NY Committee, have organized, and it is the first with English, Spanish, and French interpretation. Tenemos interpretación disponible en inglés, español y francés. Haga clic en el icono del globo en la parte inferior de su pantalla para elegir su canal de idioma. Let me introduce myself. I am Rosa Lazardi. I am an executive committee member and treasurer of the NGO CSW New York, as well as the co-chair of the NGO CSW Forum, serving with my fellow co-chair, Pamela Morgan, who will be on in just a second. We are two women of color proud to represent the diversity of the NGO CSW Executive Committee. And we are so thrilled to have you all join us for this open forum where we will present every detail about the upcoming NGO CSW Forum and much information about the UN CSW 67, which will happen next year from March 6th through the 17th. It has as its primary theme a very important topic considering the times we are in, innovation and technological change and education in the digital age for achieving gender equality and the empowerment of all women and girls. And it has as its review theme, challenges and opportunities in achieving gender equality and the empowerment of rural women and girls. We have over 1,000 registered for this event today, and I see people logging on at the moment. So we're so excited to have you join us. We ask, if you haven't already, introduce yourself in the chat. And if you have any questions during the presentations, please put them in the chat. We will do our best to answer at the moment. And if not, we will have a Q&A at the end of the first hour. You can always visit our website for all information about the NGO CSW 67 Forum. And we are thrilled. I'm sure Devin will put the website in the chat. We are thrilled that you join us on our journey to promote a feminist approach to achieving gender equality, women's rights, and the empowerment of all women and girls. At this moment, we are going to take a poll to see how many are here for the first time. So I will ask Devin to put up the poll. How many times have you attended CSW or the NGO CSW Forum? The first choice is, this will be my first time. Second is once. Third is less than 5 times. Fourth is between 5 and 10 times. And fifth is over 10 times. I'm saying these options for the sake of the interpretation. So we will have those results in a few minutes. For now, I want to thank you again. Muchísimas gracias por estar aquí. Thank you so much for being with us today. We're thrilled to have you join us. I will turn over to my co-chair, Pamela Morgan.
Thank you, Rosa, and welcome again. I'm so pleased to see everyone. And before I continue, let's look at the results of the poll. 36% of us present today are first timers. So let's give a hand to the first timers. 16% have been to the CSW one time. And the next greatest amount of participants have been here less than 5 times. That's 28%. We have 9% that have been here over 10 times. And then we have a solid amount who've been here between 5 and 10 times. Thank you so much for your response. I think that for all who are here, whether it's your first time or your 10th time, the information that we're going to review today is going to be exciting and a bit overwhelming. So please make sure you have a pen and pencil. Make sure that you are taking notes so that you can review as we go along. Also, don't forget, you can contact us at any time, and our emails can be in the chat so that we can maintain a constant communication. We're excited that you are going to hear about parallel events. You know, that's our premier feature. And this year, our parallel events are going to be in person as well as virtual. So people will have, excuse me, the opportunity to participate, whether you're at home or if you're in New York. We're going to have an exhibit hall, as we've done in the past, but this year's exhibit hall is going to be a little different. And I think that you're going to be quite pleased with the reduction in price, as well as with the features. In addition to the exhibit hall, we'll have, excuse me, handbook ads that are going to be enhanced. So for those of you who have been participants and patrons in the past, make sure that you pay close attention to those handbook ads. Our communications committee has done a wonderful job in creating a social media campaign, as well as a campaign to keep everyone updated on a regular basis. Again, we're going to have regional consultation days, and we're going to have caucuses. So please stay in touch, visit our website on a constant basis, and make sure that you are aware of what's happening as we lead up to CSW and the NGO CSW Forum. For today's meeting, excuse me, we're going to have a greeting from our chair, Hudi Getalokian, who is going to introduce to you our staff and the executive committee. After that, we will hear from a representative from, excuse me, the Bureau. And then we're going to look at NGO CSWs in the regions, and we're going to have representatives from each of the regions say a bit about what they're doing. After that, we're going to look at, excuse me, it's awful when in the fall you get the flu, and then you're trying to recover and your voice goes. So please be patient. Thank you. And then we're going to look at a forum overview. We're going to look at orientation and advocacy training, and then the advocacy research group. At the close of the program, we'll have a 20-minute Q&A so that your questions can be addressed. Again, please put questions in the chat so that we can address them properly. And with that, I will give the floor to our fearless leader, Hudi.
Thank you, Rosa and Pamela. I am so honored to be here. Thank you all for being here. And I really especially want to thank Rosa and Pamela again for their leadership in organizing this forum. As I mentioned in the chat, this will be our first ever hybrid forum. We adjusted to virtual forum after the pandemic, and we did an amazing job, if I may say so myself. And now we're learning as we go along on how to organize a hybrid event. So thank you, Pamela and Rosa, for leading that. And also just to give you a little heads up that it will be 80% virtual and only 20% in person. So if you don't get to New York City, don't fret. You will be part of all of our events. We are making sure even the events that we do on the ground here in New York are broadcasts or recorded and shared, because now that we know the power of bringing all of you on board, despite your difficulties of visas and financials, we want to make sure your voices are heard at the UN. And for those of you who are new here, that is the mandate of NGO CSW New York. We want to bring global activist voices of women and girls for their rights, and those who support us, by the way. We do include men and boys and feminists, however you identify, to bring your voices into the UN. Okay, now my role here, my fabulous role, I'm so excited to introduce our team. I'm going to start with our executive committee. And of course, I could not do this without my vice chair, Ivy. She's my partner. She's everything that I can't reach to. And also whatever I need to make, whenever I need to make a decision, Ivy's the person I reach out to. And of course, our communications secretary, Jillian, our recording secretary, Safira. And then of course, we have our, Rosa is our treasurer, who you met already, and Pamela is also on our committee, executive committee. Then we have Terry, Margarita, Louisa, who you're going to hear from later, Ani, you're going to hear from later, and Susan O'Malley, who's our past chair and is so amazing and really guiding us. And of course, none of this could happen without our fearless, she's the true fearless person, program manager, Devin Zingler. Yay to Devin. And this year, we're so lucky to have 3 amazing interns who you can really chat with also. They're here to help us. Carla is our communications interns. And if you've noticed our uptick in our social media, that's thanks to Carla, Ali, and of course, Micaela. Thank you all for being here and for being part of this movement. Unfortunately, we do not have representation from the Bureau. They were busy, I guess, with third committee. I'm not sure what happened, but we will definitely hear from them in the coming months. We already have meetings to meet with them. We've already met with 1 or 2, but we are so lucky to have somebody who's been our partner, our friend, our ally at UN Women to report on what is happening. And again, for those of you who are new, NGO Committee on the Status of Women is representing civil society from around the world to really bring our voices into the Commission on the Status of Women. And the Commission is actually UN Women who helps organize it with member states. And guess what? We do have Johannes here from UN Women to update us on what's happening on that side. Johannes, you have the floor.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Huri and colleagues. And good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all participants. It's really a pleasure to be here and to be able to share updates on CSW preparations with you. My name is Johannes, and I work in the Civil Society Division of UN Women, and we try our best to facilitate NGO participation in the formal CSW. And maybe just to start, as you may know, as of now, the formal CSW67 is expected to take place in person at UN headquarters in New York. So this, of course, may change depending on the global health situation. But for now, that's the plan, to have CSW in person to somehow go back to pre-pandemic arrangements. But of course, should there be any change, we'll make sure we update through the CSW website and other channels. Just to start perhaps with registration for NGOs in consultative status with ECOSOC. So registration has started for CSW67 on the 7th of October, and we are very happy to see a very strong interest. And we have currently more than 1,000 NGO representatives that have registered and have been approved by their organizations already. So we're looking forward to a very vibrant session. At the beginning of registration, invitation letters have been sent to the official email addresses of all ECOSOC accredited organizations with details on the registration and links and everything. So in case you have not received, in case you are from an ECOSOC accredited organization and you have not received the invitation letter, which has been sent to the official email address of the organization, then please let us know. Then we can resend that letter to you. Perhaps also to very quickly for the newcomers explain the process of registration and approvals. So the UN is using an online system called Indico for registration to conferences and meetings. And so is also CSW using that system. And it works in a way that individual representatives would register on Indico for CSW67. And then their registration would be approved by an representative from their organization. Basically, once you have registered, please reach out to your organization, and the authorized focal point in your organization will be able to approve your registration directly in Indico. And once your registration has been approved, you will receive a personal confirmation letter confirming that you are registered for CSW in New York. And that is an important document together with a copy of the invitation letter that went to the organization. That's an important document to bring to visa application interviews. Registration will be open until the 27th of January. And of course, you can find more information on the CSW website. But if you have any questions concerning registration, please send an email to csw@unwomen.org, and we'll put that in the chat in a moment, csw@unwomen.org. And the registration team will try to respond as soon as possible. Forgive us if it sometimes takes a little bit longer, because we are a very small team, and we're trying really to respond to each request. And sometimes it takes a little bit to get to all the emails. So that's concerning registration for ECOSOC accredited NGOs. In other terms of CSW preparations, we are very happy to see that we have received a large number of NGO written statements for CSW67. So we have received close to 200 written statements from NGOs in consultative status with ECOSOC, and we would like to thank those organizations who have submitted a statement. The way it will go from here is that these statement submissions are being reviewed and then published by UN editors. And they do it starting usually in January, but make sure that at least 6 weeks before the session, 6 weeks before the 6th of March, all statements that have been submitted will be online in the official document system of the UN. Also, maybe to just point out that the expert group meeting on the priority theme, and thanks so much for Rosa for going into the themes and explaining them. The expert group meeting that took place from the 10th to the 13th of October has produced a large amount of knowledge and discussion around the priority theme. And we expect that the expert papers will be published on the CSW website in the coming week, or maybe the week after. So the experts usually have some time after the expert group meeting to finalize their papers and presentations, but we will post those on the website, and we hope they will be useful in your advocacy work as well. Concerning side events, concerning the official side events organized by member states, usually by intergovernmental organizations and UN entities on UN premises, unfortunately, so far, we do not have any updates. So we do expect there will be in-person side events as well as virtual side events, but we don't set the arrangements. It's the UN Secretariat, and so far, they have not been officially released yet. We hope that will happen in the next few days. But so far, we do not have an update, unfortunately, on the arrangements for the official side events usually taking place on UN premises, and which are organized by member states, intergovernmental organizations, and UN entities, often in collaboration with CSOs. So we hope to have this information quite soon. But we do expect there will be some degree of in-person events to some extent. I think I'll stop here. I'll be happy to respond to any questions in the chat, and please do visit our web pages and do not hesitate to write to csw@unwomen.org for any other questions. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Johannes. We are so appreciative of your presence here today. And of course, we're deeply appreciative of the partnership with UN Women. And thank you for taking questions in the chat. At this point, we will be bringing information about the NGO CSWs in the region. These NGO CSWs in the regions are our partners in the CSW organizing. They offer important resource for global collaborative efforts, not only within the region, but across the regions. They work globally and regionally, and also bring valuable intel information about what is happening on the ground in the regions. So we are featured, we're going to feature them here. Yes, here are the global NGOs, and we will invite them to say a few words about what is happening in their region. If people can please mute, there's a little bit of feedback that's coming through. Thank you. So we will begin with NGO CSW Africa and continue to NGO CSW Arab States, the MENA region, NGO CSW Asia Pacific, NGO CSW Geneva, NGO CSW Latin America and the Caribbean, and then NGO CSW Vienna. So if we can have our colleague from NGO CSW Africa, we invite you to say a few words. If we have Lois Zonzaway, if not, we will move on to the next one and bring them back.
Lois is here. She just needs to unmute herself.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you.
Lois?
I don't think anyone from Africa is here. I don't think Lois is here. There's a different Lois here.
Okay, let us move on to...
Here. I'm here from Nigeria.
Oh, she's here.
Yes, I'm here from Nigeria, but...
I'm here from Nigeria, Dr. Adekemi Otolorin, Lillian, National President for Nigeria Medical Women's Association. We
Right, thank you so much,
organizing...
Lillian, but we have specific representatives from the NGO CSW in Africa. So we will hold off on interventions from other groups, and we will move on to NGO CSW Arab MENA region.
Okay.
Thank you.
Nobody's here from Arab region right now.
Okay, let's move on to NGO CSW Latin America and the Caribbean. I think Mabel is here.
Yes, hello, good morning, everybody.
Hola, Mabel, bienvenida.
Gracias. ¿Puedo hablar en español? No
Sí.
Estoy en el canal de español. Ok. Desde América Latina y el Caribe, acabamos de terminar la semana pasada la Conferencia Regional de la Mujer, que fue muy importante y que nos permitió tener una excelente plataforma regional que va a alimentar la posición para la CSW referida a las políticas de cuidado. A partir de ahora vamos a iniciar el trabajo de preparación para la CSW que comienza con la reunión preparatoria regional que se hace todos los años a través de la Comisión Económica de América Latina, CEPAL, y ONU Mujeres, que el año que viene se realizará hacia fines de enero o principio de febrero. Allí, como NGO CSW LAC, presentaremos nuestra posición que estamos empezando a elaborar y promoveremos que las ministras y las responsables de las áreas mujer aprueben o incluyan en sus recomendaciones nuestras propuestas. Hasta ahora hemos sido exitosas y hemos conseguido o la total o la casi total 80% de inclusión y seguiremos promoviendo. Una vez realizada esta reunión preparatoria, trabajamos conjuntamente con ONU Mujeres, la Comisión Económica para América Latina y las áreas mujer de todos nuestros países hacia la CSW, y allí llevaremos a través de la reunión nuestra con las ONGs, pero también en varias de las reuniones oficiales que organizamos con algunos gobiernos, la voz de América Latina y el Caribe, en lo posible unificada de las ONGs con las posiciones de los gobiernos. También consideramos siempre aquellas posiciones que son diferentes y que de nuestros gobiernos y que, bueno, no queremos dejar fuera, pero que no compartimos. Esta es nuestra tarea. Muchas gracias.
Muchísimas gracias, Mabel. Thank you for all the work that you and your team is doing on the ground in these regional meetings that just happened. I would invite you to put the statements that you produced, the feminist statements and the youth statement that you shared with us, put the link in the chat, because I think that that's a real guiding voice for all of us. So I believe our Africa colleagues, many of them are very involved in the COP in Sharm el-Sheikh, and because it's very focused on African feminist. So I
Rosa, I'm sorry to interrupt, my dear.
Yes, of course.
Memory just came in.
Oh, excellent, excellent. I was just looking at her name and knowing that I saw her in the COPs. So Memory, it's good to have you here. Can we spotlight Memory? We are focusing on the NGO CSWs in the region, and we would like if you can just give us a quick update about what the NGO CSW Africa will be planning for the CSW.
She might have lost a connection because she was here and then she just disappeared. So I'm sorry, this is what technology does to us. So,
and I know how bad that internet was in Sharm el-Sheikh. So we'll wait on her. Let me invite the NGO CSW Geneva. Carolyn?
Hello, everyone from Geneva. Greetings from our committee members, NGO CSW at Geneva, UN. We have had many discussions in our executive team and our committee. We just had a committee meeting about this, about our plans. Our plans are not set yet, but we have a lot of ideas going. Of course, many statements were sent in among our members and parallel events being planned. Thank you to the New York office for really all that you're doing to make this go well. What we have been doing as the issue this year is really about education and using the media actually to accelerate our input and change. We have been organizing recently, especially different trainings and even inviting young people to the end, working on different issues of the Human Rights Council and having oftentimes like hybrid or even in person also, but also hybrid events. So these are all things that we plan to feed into the work of the CSW, some of the results that we came up with through these trainings. We have also been working, building partnership with some of our UN institutions here, like UN Women here, and also UNECE headquarters is in Geneva, and have things like a Christmas lunch planned where we're bringing some of them together, and we'll be talking about CSW. Also breakfast briefing with ambassadors we have also on our agenda. First issue is about CSW for that first breakfast briefing. Now this will be the third time we plan to do a consultation day. This also is not exactly clear yet how we're going to do it, but hopefully with Vienna, but still I think on both sides we're discussing. And we're thinking this time to do it in person, and actually to do it even in February. And that it would be the kind of a little bit different kind of concept, because our main idea would be to really be sure that we provide things that will help the preparedness of the people who will come to New York or who will participate online. So having some kind of a training and of course discussions on the topics, of course with a lot of youth participation, but also with ideas about how afterwards, what to take back with us, or ways to take things back with us even to our nations and to our communities when these agreed conclusions are finally decided. So anyway, we have a lot of enthusiasm, but we are still really in the planning stage. Thank you so much.
Great, thank you, understandably so. Thank you so much, Carolyn. And I know that we can expect to hear about your plans in the very near future. So we will turn to NGO CSW Vienna.
Thank you.
We have about a minute before we go on to the next. Thank you, Evelyn.
Thank you for giving me the floor. As you know, I'm the chair of the NGO Committee Vienna, and I've sent to Devon beforehand a written version of my intervention today. So I will shorten my presentation and focus on 3 points. It's the creation of our committee, some highlights of 2022, and what we intend to prepare for CSW67.
If I can ask you to focus on what you intend to do for NGOs for the upcoming CSW, Evelyn, that'd be great.
Okay, fine with me, because I thought at the beginning it was said that we should also introduce the committee, and that's what I wanted to do, but fine. What we intend for CSW67 so far, we have been sending written statements for both themes, for the priority and the revisions theme. And we are thinking of preparing for oral intervention, maybe with a statement, maybe intervene in the general discussion and also in the interactive dialogues. We are still thinking about having parallel events, or at least parallel events from member organizations. And what we intend for the consultation day, I know we have been speaking or exchanging mails with Geneva, but Caroline didn't mention that they have their 50th anniversary next year. So we said it would be a great opportunity to have a big event on this occasion. And the Vienna Committee and other committees in Vienna, especially the Committee on Sustainable Development, concentrates on preparing this consultation day, and we will do it together with UNEP. It's a United Nations environmental program. They have also a secretariat in Vienna, and it's specialized on the Carpathian Convention. And we include research institutes from the universities and also other centers to work on a topic of rural women. especially in the mountainous regions of Austria, Europe, and also other regions. Probably it might be Tibet, for instance, and also include in this project the role that digital literacy might play in this context. It's still a work in progress, as I would say, and what the young generation will be doing remains still a secret. So that's what I present to you now. Thank you.
Marvelous. Thank you so much, Evelyn. We will turn now. I think we have Memory back, so we will see if we can connect with her and have a quick update about what the NGO CSW in Africa is doing. Memory? Hello, Memory.
Yes, I'm here. Thank you, Rosa.
Hi, Memory.
I'm in transit.
Welcome.
Thank you. I hope you can hear, and my apologies. I'm having a bit of connection difficulties. I'm in transit coming from COP, but I'm happy to say just very quickly, as part of the Africa NGO CSW, we'll be meeting with the committee to come up with our regional paper and position this Friday, and then we'll have online consultation. And so this paper will feed into the experts group meeting, which is being organized by UN Women Regional Office for East and Southern Africa. So it will be the experts meeting, and from the experts meeting, it will feed into the ministerial meeting where we'll have a civil society representative. The Africa group is meeting in end of November. The group of ministers, representatives from the different countries. So they have requested a civil society to feed into the position. We will be having our Africa regional CSW meeting prior to the ministers meeting to look at the key demands that we will be pushing through for CSW67 next year. So that is more like the position in terms of the consultations that are ongoing for each of the respective regions within Africa. We are also planning to ensure that we start the processes of ensuring that most of the members and the organizations from the continent register early since CSW has opened. We are also planning to have a joint letter supported by UN for assisting with the visa, because it has been raised as a key issue. In particular, the theme on technology. We have a lot of young women's rights organizations that would like to participate more in person. So we are also working on ensuring that we start in the process and they get the necessary support for that. And then next year, early next year, we will also look at the key positions, what is coming out of the ministerial positions, what we need to push for, what our respective, what the women's rights organizations can push for within the different country delegations. We are really urging more and more for our members to join where possible, at least have a civil society represented in the country delegations in order to push for what civil society will be pushing into. We are also having the orientation to feed into the zero draft and to also explain particularly to those that will be participating in the CSW process for the first time, and also linking them to the workshops, the orientation workshop that NGO CSW New York will be organizing for everyone. And
Great.
we'll be having regular updates starting from next week in terms of all the information we sent out in our newsletter last month, all the registration, all the key points to note.
Excellent.
But following the meeting we have on Friday with NGO CSW Steering Committee, we'll be having each week, as much as possible, or every 2 weeks, an update on what will be happening. So that's what I can quickly
Great.
update. And if there are any questions, I'm happy to make further clarifications. And also we'll share the dates with you and with the wider network collectively. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Memory Kachambwa from FemNet. If you have any questions for her, please put them in the chat. We regret that Lena Abu Habib from the Arab MENA region and Carol Shaw from the Asia Pacific region are unable to join. We will be providing their updates in our regular communication. Thank you to all who have shared, and we will move on. I see many questions in the chat. So let's move on to orientation and advocacy training.
Thank you, Rosa. I just want to interject that if a person is part of an official delegation to the official CSW, they have to apply through Indigo. They apply and then they're accepted. All civil society is able to apply to the NGO CSW Forum. So in the chat, I noticed that there was some confusion. So everyone can apply for the NGO CSW Forum. If you're a part of the official delegation, then it's another process. So at this point, I want to introduce the Orientation and Advocacy Training Subcommittee, Jillian and Louisa. And unfortunately, due to a death in the family, Jillian is unable to attend. So please say a prayer for her and her family. And at this time, Louisa.
Thank you, Pamela, and grateful to be here and to have this opportunity to speak to you all and to see such an amazing turnout for today's meeting. We have a presentation, so I don't know if Devan, can you share your screen and we can walk you through the presentation? And just to say, hola, hablo español, pero en esta ocasión voy a hablar en inglés para facilitar el trabajo que se va a hacer el día de hoy. Just a quick overview on the priority theme. I think Rosa and my former colleagues who have preceded me in taking the floor have already mentioned what the priority theme for CSW67 is going to be. It's going to be innovation and technological change and education in the digital age for achieving gender equality and the empowerment of all women and girls. There in the screen, you can see the link to the UN Women website, where you can find a little bit more of information around the priority theme. And also on the next slide, you will see the other theme that is going to be being under review, the CSW67 review theme, which is going to be challenges and opportunities in achieving gender equality and empowerment of rural women and girls. And later in the program, our advocacy and research team are going to be speaking a little bit more about the recommendations that are going to be coming out of that group for our common advocacy through NGO CSW. So on the next slide, we're just going to review some of the reasons to attend the NGO CSW67 Forum. So the first reason is the parallel events. So the parallel events are organized by civil society organizations and groups from around the world. And most of them are addressing the CSW priority theme in some way, But in general, this is an opportunity for having events exploring a variety of issues. So it's a good reason to attend the NGO CSW67 Forum. So the next one is the conversation circles, which is a space for exchange of ideas about different topics, not necessarily related to the main theme under review, but a variety of issues that are related to the women's rights and gender equality agenda. And these conversation circles are facilitated by experts in different topics. And these conversation circles take place during 2 days during CSW. And we are going to be sharing more information about that as we get closer to the dates. Then we're going to have a consultation day, which is this next year is going to take place on the 5th of March, and it's going to be virtual. And it's a kickoff event for the forum to prepare participants around CSW and to educate them about the priority theme. So it is a great opportunity to engage and to have more information and learn more about the priority theme for CSW. Then we also have civil society briefings, which are informative meetings that bring together civil society, UN agencies, member states, including the Bureau of CSW, to share updates and what's happening during the CSW session. It could be related to logistics, related to the main theme, related to the negotiations. So this is a great opportunity for those participating to get information firsthand. So then we also have the regional caucuses, which are informal spaces for each of the 5 UN regional groups to discuss advocacy and issues pertaining to their own regions and how these can also feed into the general negotiations in the context of CSW. Then we have the virtual exhibit hall, which is it's a space to learn about the different exhibitions work and also to connect with them. Our host, or it is also an opportunity for you, for your organizations to host your own exhibit booth and showcase some of the work that you do. And I believe my colleagues, I think Divan or any other colleague from NGO CSW are sharing some of the links to either register in the parallel events, which is the registration is open, and also for the virtual exhibit hall, where I'm going to announce the dates later in another slide later in my presentation. Also, NGO CSW is a space for networking. It's to meet other people who are working on the same agendas that we are working on, women's rights and gender equality, but also on specific issues. It's a great space for advocating for your own priorities, and also to connect with others within the wider women's rights movement. So NGO CSW provides, the NGO CSW Forum provides that space for that amazing networking. And finally, it's a space for elevating advocacy and for advocating for the your organization's priorities. And for those issues that you're passionate about with member states and the larger UN. So our advocacy and research team is also going to share a little bit more in detail how within the NGO CSW Forum we do this advocacy with member states and with the UN. So we move on to some key important dates. So 18 November is the NGO CSW67 Forum registration opening. So for participating in the forum, you need to be registered. So 18 November is the moment in which the registration is going to be open. Then, as I said earlier, the registration, the application for the parallel events is already open and is going to close on the 2nd of December. Then on the 5th of December, the forum virtual portal is going to be open. On the 6th of December, the youth open forum is going to start at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Then on 6th January, the decisions for in-person parallel events applications are going to be sent out. And just a reminder that, as Huri said, 80% of the parallel events are going to be virtual, and there is going to be 20% in person. So for those in person, the decisions will be sent, as I said, on January 6th. And for those that are going to be held virtually, the decision is going to be sent out on January 15th. Then for February 27th, is going to be the deadline for exhibit, booth, and handbook ad applications. And then, as I said already, on March 5th, the forum is going to kick off with the consultation day. And then between 6th and 17th March, the UN CSW67 and NGO CSW67 Forum are going to be held. So very quickly, because we are running out of time, just to walk you through, for those who are newcomers, what are the main differences between NGO CSW Forum and UN CSW? So the NGO CSW Forum is civil society led, and it's a gathering of parallel that runs parallel to the main agenda, to the official agenda of the UN CSW, and it's held outside of the UN headquarters. Then, as I said, it is organized by NGO CSW New York, which is a civil society organization, so it's civil society led, and hosts virtual and in-person parallel events and other civil society led events, activities, and spaces, as I just explained, including briefings and other activities for civil society that are engaging in CSW. And then the NGO CSW Forum prepares recommendations to be included in the CSW outcome document, which are called agreed conclusions. So this work is mainly led by our advocacy and research group, and it's free and open to the public. So for those of you who want to participate, you can register when the registration opens later in a couple of weeks. So the difference with the UN CSW is an official UN commission, and its work, its sessions are held at the UN headquarters in New York. It is coordinated by UN Women, which serves, it is a UN agency, and UN Women, together with the Secretariat, the UN Secretariat serves as Secretariat of the UN CSW. And then it hosts official side events, but as Johan has explained, we're still waiting for confirmation about the official side events, but it usually hosts official side events that are organized by UN agencies, member states, and civil society organizations. And these official side events are usually held at UN headquarters. And then the outcome document is negotiated by member states of the UN. The UN CSW it's a commission with limited membership, but during the negotiations of the outcome document, all members of the UN take part of. So, and this outcome document, as I said, is called agreed conclusions. So these negotiations usually start shortly before the session of the CSW starts in March. So maybe it's usually, it starts 1 or 2 weeks before. So, and only ECOSOC accredited NGOs can officially register, as it was explained earlier in this presentation, in this session. So please take note of these 2 dates. We're going to have an orientation session that is going to take place on Monday, March 6th at 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And it's going to be an orientation conducted by NGO CSW67 Forum and CSW67 and the different in-person and virtual activities. And then we're going to have an advocacy training session the following day on Tuesday, March 7th at 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And it's going to be a training session for advocating for your organizations and for the work that we do at the UN CSW and the advocacy that we do with member states, particularly feeding into the outcome document or the great conclusions. So with that, I'll stop there and I will hand it over to Rosa and Pamela to continue with the program. And thank you.
Muchísimas gracias, Luisa. Gracias por toda esa información. Fue mucha información y vamos a tener toda esta información en video y también para mandar por correo electrónico. Si no están en nuestra lista, por favor, si podemos poner el link, Devin, de cómo ponerse en nuestra lista de ONG CSW. We will be continuing with our advocacy and research group. So I invite Ivy and Ani to please come up to the online platform. And we will learn what the advocacy and research group is doing. Thank you, Ivy.
Thank you, Rosa. Sorry. So it's just me. Ani, I don't believe is on the call, but I think it'll go much faster if I'm the only one speaking anyway. Luisa covered so much information. Thank you. I can't believe you fit it all in the time that you did. I'm just gonna share a little bit about what this group is doing. The Advocacy and Research Group is a global group of team, I should say, that has been working on researching the priority themes specifically for the CSW. And based on the research, we have been trying to come up with the key recommendations before, to feed into the zero draft. The zero draft is what member states is governments. So what governments negotiate on during the CSW. And so this is the zero draft is the basis. So that's what's being done right now. And that is why we were trying to prepare all our advocacy points by the end of November, beginning of December, and to start having meetings with member states. So that's what has been happening. So throughout the summer, there has been research happening. And then we've been using the monthly meetings. I think many of you have been participating in the monthly meetings, but we have been trying to engage all the participants in our advocacy work. And so we put out a survey, and the survey was all based on the priority theme. Thank you to everyone who did fill out the survey, because it was quite extensive. And based on that is, it was the survey that really, was what we looked at it for the 8 points. And then the 8 major topics we introduced in a meeting, and we consolidated that to 5 points. And that is on our website. I believe, yes, that is on our website, the topics that we have identified. I could share them very quickly with you. I don't know if there is a slide on just those topics, but to say very quickly what those are, it was around access to and availability of technology and training, including STEM. The other one was about the digital impact and technology on women and girls, including LGBTI individuals, human rights, online safety and cyberbullying, harassment. This is all another topic. Another one was on accessibility to technology in rural areas specifically, and also accessibility for older people and people with disabilities. Another big topic was availability of financial resources for digital technology for women and girls. And the 5th point was around youth and adolescents. So currently we are drafting it's like just one statement that will try to encompass what it is that we're asking, as a recommendation. We're going to be sharing that tomorrow with you during the monthly meeting. I don't know if you have registered, but please do register if you haven't already for the monthly meeting tomorrow at 8 o'clock Eastern time. And on next week, the 23rd of November, there will be a social media campaign, or we will start kind of pushing out our 5 key recommendations. And next week, we're going to have like a sign-on option. So you can sign on yourself or your organization and say, yes, I support these 5 recommendations. Now, if you don't need to sign, but, but we will be having that out next week. And as I said, again, the NGO CSW Executive Committee, we are having meetings, a lot of them in person here at UN headquarters in New York towards this zero draft. And so we have started scheduling those meetings to have meetings around the zero draft recommendation, specifically our asks, and to share about what we do with the NGO Forum. And I think, I wanted to give a plug because actually I did notice that Susan had written in the chat that the US Women's Caucus has 2-page briefings on their technology. And I know that, I mean, they are a US caucus, but they have global briefs that might be informative for many of you. I don't think it was just US specific. Susan, you can put in the chat that link again. And I think I just want to confirm that it is also global information, not just about the United States. So yes, and that is our next step actually, is to provide some briefs on our key recommendations, specifically around language. And what we want to do is to empower everyone, for everyone to feel emboldened to be able to do advocacy themselves. I know that advocacy is a little intimidating. It took me quite a long time to get into it myself. I've been doing this about 10 years and I'm like, okay, finally I'm feeling a little bit more comfortable. So I know it could be intimidating, but we're trying to make it as easy and accessible as possible for you so that you can talk with, it's just talking with the government officials locally in your region, in your country, about what our concerns are, what's important to us. So that's what advocacy is about, and that's why the UN does their negotiations. We should be an active participant. Civil society should be there. So yes, let's continue to have our voices heard in that space. Don't feel intimidated. Don't let ECOSOC accreditation, hold you back. Anyone can talk to anyone on the street. If you see a D badge, someone walking and they have a D badge, start talking to them, maybe. Luisa's laughing, maybe she could share. But anyway, that's my 2 cents, and I'm gonna stop now. I hope I kept under. Bye-bye.
Ivy, thank you so much for that beautiful presentation. Thank you, it was informative and delightful. At this time, we're going to bring the tech maven to the floor, Devin Ziegler, who's going to give us an overview on something very special, which is our new platform. Devin.
Hi, everyone. So I'll just make this nice and quick. As Pamela mentioned, we do have a new virtual portal this year. So it'll be generally a lot more user-friendly and easier to use. So I'll just go through a couple of highlights of the virtual portal. We will be sending a lot of resources for navigating the portal, including FAQs, some tutorial videos. So don't worry too much right now about being confused about how the portal works, because we got you and we will provide you with all of that information. But for now, I'll just share some of the exciting things that will be on the portal and what you can expect. And if whoever's speaking could just mute. Yeah, thanks. Okay. So the first thing is registration is super easy this year. If you were attending last year, you might have remembered that the registration process was kind of clunky. This year, it's super easy. And registration will open this Friday for the NGO CSW67 Forum. So keep an eye out on social media and in your emails for an announcement and a link to do that. Next, I have all of the parallel events will be listed on the portal. So this includes both in-person and virtual parallel events. So even if you're hosting an in-person event, your event will still be listed on the portal, and you'll still have your page on the portal that you can edit and add a description and anything else. So just like last year, virtual parallel event organizers must use their own meeting platform. So this means like using their own Zoom or WebEx or Google Meets or whatever. So you will be responsible for providing a link to either join or register for your event that will be put on your event page. One of the other exciting things this year that was inconvenient for everyone really was that this year parallel event organizers will be able to edit their event pages themselves. So you no longer have to go through us and then we upload your information. You'll be able to do it directly. So that'll be really easy and nice as well. So there are also different message boards on the portal. So there are different topics that you can join and essentially different kind of message forums for different things. So this is a great way to like promote your organization and your work, meet other people, ask questions. And so we also have exhibitors and handbook ad sponsors. This has been talked about already a little bit. And if someone could just put in the chat the link to the website for these, that website has all of the information you need to know about them. The applications are open, so go ahead and check that out. But essentially we'll have a virtual exhibit hall and also handbook ad sponsors where you'll be able to visit the booths and the ads and learn more about them, contact them. Exhibitors and sponsors will also be able to hold events within their booth or ad. And handbook ads will also be promoted through different places on the portal. So as you'll see on our website, there are different tiers for the handbook ads corresponding to different levels of exposure on the portal and on our mobile app. And I went too far. Okay, and then the last thing is that we'll have a bunch of resources on the portal. We'll also, of course, post these resources on our website, send them to the mailing list, put them on social media. So we will have a ton of resources on navigating the portal, participating in the forum, virtual safety, all of the things. So definitely look out for those and know that we have your back in providing a lot of information. We know that this can be overwhelming and confusing, so we want to make sure that y'all are as prepared as possible. And I also just wanted to mention something about virtual safety, since we did have a question about that in the chat. We do, of course, take virtual safety very seriously. So we do have virtual safety guidelines that everyone has to agree to when they register, when they apply for a parallel event or an exhibit booth or a handbook ad. And we have a monitoring procedure as well. So we have an email address set up, virtualsafety@ngocsw.org, where if you experience any type of like harassment or just like uncomfortableness, like not like an unsafe environment, please do not hesitate to email us there and we will address it immediately. We also have some helpful guidelines for both participants and parallel event organizers on how to participate virtually in a safe way, but also to make sure if you're hosting a parallel event, to make sure that you are organizing it and hosting it in a way that ensures your own security and safety and also your participants' safety. So those are some of the resources that will also be included and shared with y'all. But I also just wanted to mention that as well. And we will be going to our Q&A session now, I believe. So I will stop sharing and hand it over to Rosa or Pamela. I think Pamela.
Thank you so much, Devin. That was comprehensive, and it was done so clearly that I think that people should be able to navigate and understand what it is that we're going to do with our new beautiful platform, Whova. Thank you. So at this time, we're going to have the Q&A, and we're going to look in the chat. So please put your questions in the chat, and we'll have Devin and Hootie, Ivy, Rosa, and myself address your questions.
So I'll just jump in real quick because I do see a couple of questions about if they can do like a hybrid parallel event. So we have two separate applications for virtual events and in-person events. So you do have to choose one or the other. But if you are doing an in-person event, you are welcome to add like a hybrid or virtual component. So if you wanted to live stream it or add a Zoom link if you want, that is definitely an option, and we definitely encourage it. However, with that being said, there might be some technical difficulties, or, there are a lot of events going on at the same time in these venues. So Wi-Fi, there might be some issues there. We will be amping up the Wi-Fi and the bandwidth for the forum, but, there's always the possibility of technical issues happening. So just with that caveat, and we also can't provide any like equipment for that kind of thing, like live streaming or something like that. So as long as you can provide your own equipment, then yeah, you can totally add that kind of hybrid aspect to your in-person event.
Queen Mother want to say something.
Go ahead, Queen. Go ahead, Queen Mother.
Good morning to all of you. And Queen Mother has been traveling the world. And to update you in terms of powering the women, I'm just coming back from the UK and Scotland, and where Queen Mother spoke in Parliament to the women. And in doing that, it's imperative that we have inclusive of all women when we put the energy out or we put information. Sometimes you have to do it more than once so they hear you. The same thing in Africa is the issue too, making sure that they hearing from CSW, NGO, the work that you're doing, which we know has been very noble. But we have to make sure of inclusion as we continue to roll out our design for CSW 67. So again, I just want to congratulate you at the quality of work that you've been sharing with all of us. And so I say continue to do so. And Devin, we are always been in love with you on every level. And even in Washington, D.C., as you lobbied with us on the bus to get the women to Washington, D.C. with the U.S. Congresswomen. So again, congratulations to all of you women for the work that you're doing as I hear about it around the world. I thank you.
Thank you so much, Queen Mother. It's great to have you here. So if there are any other questions, I think we have Dr. Ife Ofong.
Yes.
Your question? Hello.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Yuri. Queen Mother, I say hi to you. It's me, Ife. Yeah. So actually, I'm a little bit worried, because I'm from Nigeria. I represent women in development and environment. Oftentimes, the African group, I don't know what they are doing, and it worries me because I have been associated, with the CSW, NGO group for a very long time. And I sent a private chat to Memory, that I really need to get to know what is happening in Africa, okay? And I don't know how else, to get to know what is happening if I'm not included, in the email list. So I thought that I would bring it up. Please, if there's any other way one can get into, what is going on in the region and be part of the conversation, make contributions, to the African documents. I'll be very, very glad, to do that.
Great. Thank you so much. We appreciate it. We're going to take one or two more questions, and then Huri, I invite you to reply, and then we can distribute. Okay, so Brenda Moifia, question?
Yes, thank you very much. This is Brenda Moifia. I'm the head of Oxfam, the New York and UN office. I have already, thank you. I've already put my question in the chat, but just in case it hasn't been captured, I thought I could quickly just raise it. I'm really worried about the deadline for the Para event, the 2nd of December. Just within Oxfam, we are aware that many of our partners and many of the colleagues are busy with COP right now, and we have all sorts of events happening. I think this year the deadline was January, if I'm not mistaken, so I'm wondering why we have the Para event this time around for the 2nd, or I could be mistaken. Thank you, but I just wanted to raise that.
Okay, I got that. Let's just take two more. Susan? Susan Lee.
Yes, thank you. I have concerns about the in-person events. What will be the criteria for deciding what events will be accepted as in-person events? And will there be participation limitations in the room? Will the organizers have to restrict how many people come into the room? I'm also a little concerned that, with some things closed, so much virtual, are people going to come to New York? Are they going to try to do everything virtually, or are they going to end up going to New York, paying all the expenses, and then being in their room watching, on their computer the whole time? And I don't know if you've thought about that. Thank you.
Absolutely. I'm going to take one more because I can definitely handle this. I see so many hands. Arwa, and then I will answer, and then we'll go to the second round. Arwa, go ahead.
I just want to thank you for such a great presentation, very informative. My question is about the youth aspect, and specifically girls and adolescents. Can you just, even in the chat, if you don't have time, just share what are the aspects where we can engage young people in the whole process? We're planning, I work for Plan International Canada. We're planning to submit an application for a joint event, and we would like it to be a youth-led event. This is what we do in our youth programming. So yeah, I would really appreciate to know what other opportunities we can involve youth and have them take leadership. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you so much. This gets me so excited because we actually do think about all of these things, and my team can vouch for that. And thank you for the opportunity to address them. The first question about Africa being left out, I mean, honestly, that's like a 2-hour conversation. There are so many vulnerable populations and so many different regions that really do not have access, no matter how hard we work to open up doors and windows. Yes, Ivy.
I think if I heard correctly, Dr. Iffy is talking about not getting communication from NGO CSW Africa, right?
Yes, yes,
okay.
yes, thank you.
And that actually, yes, and I have put the links in the chat so you can reach out to them. And they probably do not communicate as much as NGO CSW at the headquarters does. And this is all about capacity, right? So we can't make them do it. I know that our team there works really hard. And I mean, the only other answer is like, again, whenever, that's one of the things that we try to do at the headquarters is really make sure that we're reaching everyone globally, right? So the fact that you're signed up with us, I hope you're getting our emails and we share as much information as possible. But I do recommend creating cohorts in the Africa region and reaching out to that team and hopefully working with them. So I'll move on. Oxfam Parallel Event deadline. Yes, this is actually, I honestly, there's so many different ways to go about this. Part of the reason why we move up the application, especially for in-person, a lot of people need to know that they do have an accepted parallel event so they can get visas, they can make plans, and we need time to go over the applications and make sure that we're being respectful to every single one of them. It does take time. Now, the virtual parallel events can possibly be extended, but I can't promise that because if we do extend it, then our time to process it, upload it, and make it accessible to all of you is cut shorter, and that compromises the quality of what it is that we're doing. So it's 6 of this, half a dozen of the other, like we try the best we can. What I can tell you is that you still have time to apply. So, you know, and you don't have to have all of the information necessary to apply. Go ahead and apply. And then you can also change your mind and not accept it if we do accept you. Devin, jump in and add a few. I can see that you want to add something about parallel events.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that the application is super simple. So essentially all that you're providing is like contact information, a proposed title and short description of what the parallel event will be about. Yeah, and that's pretty much it. So you don't have to have any like speaker information. You will be able to edit your title and description later. So you don't have to have like every detail like finalized and set in stone before your application. Essentially, we just want to know like, what are you planning? What's going to be like the general theme or topic, and a little bit about your organization and what you do, and then just like contact information stuff.
And that leads me right into the criteria business that Susan Lee brought up. And also the whole question of in-person, virtual, who's going to come, we have no idea. This is truly historic, right? Nobody can guess what is going to happen. When we were shut down in 2020 and we went virtual in 2021, we had no idea if anybody was going to show up then. And guess what? 27,000 people showed up on our virtual platform. We have no idea how that happened, but it happened. So we are prepared to deal with whatever it is that the global activists need to get their voices heard at the CSW, which is one of the reasons why we're saying it's hybrid. We are open to, and we're being very transparent about this. There are 250 rooms, period. That's all we're providing, 250 rooms. Organizations can choose what they want to do within that room. We're going to recommend masking. Also, just so that you know, just like Johannes said, all of this can still be canceled. If another pandemic, if another wave comes in, we are prepared to bring everything on virtual. So our virtual is our backup plan. And not only it is our backup plan, it is actually our main event as far as I'm concerned, because it is more accessible. But we can't deny those who really do want to travel to New York, who really do want to be in the headquarters or see other activists and learn from each other, because we know in the past, that's how we have advanced our cause. All right, so then I'm going to say criterias will be public. We are working on them, but it really is common sense. Everybody should think about what would you do if you are in our shoes. You would want to consider regional representation. You would want to consider making sure that voices that are not usually heard are heard. So it's not that we want to welcome only large organizations. We want to make sure large organizations have space as well. We are encouraging partnerships. So even if you get denied, be prepared to partner with others. So it's just like with ECOSOC accreditation. Just because organizations have ECOSOC accreditation doesn't mean you can't get in. Find an ECOSOC accredited organization and see if they can welcome you into their team. So there are definitely different ways of getting in through the window, is how I say. If the door is closed for you, find a way to get in. And NGO CSW Forum is one of the ways that your voice will be heard no matter what. Youth and adolescent is a priority for us. It's so important. We work with the Working Group on Girls. We work with other adolescent and youth coalitions. We work with UN Women. Rita is like our, direct contact, who's doing a lot with adolescent girls and youth. So there's going to be plenty of spaces for youth and adolescent girls to be involved. So do not be shy, bring them on board. Of course, adolescent is a little bit more tricky because they need to have an adult with them, but don't think that they have to be here in person. There's going to be lots of opportunities. Our conversation circles and caucuses are open for both in person and virtual. I'm sorry, I'm talking fast because I really want to get to everything. And I see Devin first, and then I'm going to take 2 more questions from Liv and Grace. Go ahead, Devin. And YLYP, of course.
Yes. So I was just going to mention our YLYPs, which is our Youth Leaders and Young Professionals program. We do have a bunch of stuff planned. I won't get into it now for time, but I will put in the chat our website and also our link tree that has all of the relevant information. But definitely, if you are interested in youth stuff happening at the NGO CSW Forum or at the UN CSW or just the UN generally, I definitely recommend joining our mailing list and joining our events because we will have a lot of youth-specific events and sessions leading up to the forum and also during the forum.
All right, Liv.
Yes, thank you. Actually, my question was about the Young Leaders program, so maybe I'll leave the question spot to someone else, but thank you so much.
Dan, thanks for being here. Grace, I hope I'm saying your name right.
Oui, je voulais juste vous poser la question, juste pas, mais je voulais vous poser la question concernant les femmes
about the women with physical problems. You have a space for maternity or other kind of problems.
Je peux les appeler comment? Les IVG forcées. Et
so
après pour,
I just wanted to ask you this question, and I wanted also to know about all the things we can do about maternity, like violence, and for women with physical problems. I am in France, and I'd like to know which group is working in France to know how we can work and participate. It is the first time I participate to this kind of meeting, and we met with Uri Gudelikian, in the Ministry of Women in France. I think you know me. So we spoke about that and you sent me the program. So now I'd like to know how we can participate in this area. We are all women. Thank you.
Thank you, Grace. And I'm sorry if I'm cutting you off because we are over time right now. We really wanted to end on time. And I see my co-chairs really wanting to do this the right way. And I agree with them. But I'll just, Blanche. Okay, 30 seconds, Blanche, and then we're going to wrap up.
Vous m'avez pas coupé? J'avais terminé.
No, I was finished. Thank you very much. I was finished.
All right, thank you. So I think the best way, and actually, if you are in France, I would really reach out to Geneva and Vienna as well to see if they have membership in that region that you can really interact with. I wish you had put your question in the chat earlier, because I bet you there were other people here that work in the region and would like to partner. And as far as, and I'm assuming you mean people with disabilities, I wasn't sure exactly what you meant about maternity. If people are pregnant, of course, they're welcome. We do consider the people with disabilities and access to the rooms. We obviously follow all the codes. Unfortunately, we can't have translations as we do today in this major event. We can't afford to do that. We're not financed by large organizations. We raise our own funds, and most of us are volunteers on this committee, so we really can't have access to everything. I think we're going to need to wrap up because honestly, just email info@ngocsw.org, email csw@unwomen.org for the official questions and us for the forum questions. And keep your eyes open for our emails. I'm going to hand it back over to Pamela and Rosa to say goodbye and to do our usual routine. And thank you so much for this amazing event.
Thank you all for being here. Thank you, Hootie and team. And we're going to ask everyone to turn their cameras on so we can get a picture. And I'm going to turn it over to Rosa for final words.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, mil gracias.
Everybody speak up.
Gracias a todos. Everybody turn on your camera. Let's go into gallery view.
Thank you very much.
This is our finale.
Good night.
If you have any questions,
Thank you.
info at NGO CSW. Now, goodbye. You're all connected.
Everyone, blessings upon
Thank you, everyone.
Thank
you so much.
To lead and guide us.